Herzlich willkommen bei 5 Minuten für Wein am Limit. Heute mal mit einem Gast. Wir hatten lange keinen Gast mehr, aber heute der Mann ist von weit angereist und ich möchte euch den Produzenten dieser Weine vorstellen. Das Weingut heißt Damascene, ist gerade in Südafrika, ja, hottest shit ever. Nein, nicht hottest shit ever, ever nicht, aber hottest shit ever. Komm mal her. Das ist Jean Smith. Not Jan Smith und nicht Jan Smith, not Jean Smith, because it's, Jean is the equivalent to German Hans. Hans Schmidt is da.
Hans here, Ricky.
Hey, good to have you here.
Fantastic.
What time did you arrive?
Just now, running, as you can see. But it's, no, came in this morning, did the rest of Europe, but we always keep the best for last, eh?
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. So Germany will be, is the last thing, and then from here you
go back to South Africa. So it's the first time since 2017 when we started this project that we actually come out to Europe to basically come and show it. So it's always been a dream, and now we can actually put it out into the world.
It's called Damascene, your baby. Yes. You're having a partner involved in this business.
Yes. So basically it was I was with Vineyards for about 10 years before this. Before that, I don't know, you're probably familiar as well with Arbeitet. I was with him at Rustenburg, and when he started his own thing in the Swartland, I basically went to Vineyards to learn more about Syrah. But as you will see now, there's other things like Semio that really cut a lot deeper as well. So, and that's when David called me and said, listen, come and work with me with another brand that you will see in the near future called Moyamika. And then I said, I'll come and do that, but then I had a dream where I always wanted to showcase the Western Cape with regional wines. And it's basically from all the different pockets that I found over the years, which is for me close to my heart. And I think, so behind the name, Damascene is basically when you have an epiphany or a light bulb moment. So for me, it's like when you go into a certain vineyard, you see a piece of land, you just know this is going to be completely special. And showcasing the country in a different way. So all the wines will have a slight twist to it, so not your average wines out there. And just really telling the story about South Africa. I think we've got a lot to do, especially our generation. We've got a responsibility to basically...
I have to interrupt at this stage. What when you say our generation, basically you're now at the helm of the younger generation. Yeah. And basically Adi Badenhurst and even Sadi, that's generation before, Malinu. Yes. So okay, this is how, I just wanted to understand that you are in the next in the next generation.
Yes.
Okay.
So I do look a little bit older, but there's I'm still a youngster. I mean, those guys really paved the way for us. I mean, if you look at what Eben did in the Swartland, obviously there were amazing guys like Boland Kutsia out in Stellenbosch. That was the previous generation, but they paved the way for us, and to really go out and look not only at estate wines, but go outside of that and go and look at unique pockets. And if you look at the Semio, which is the first wine. Which is over here, that's Cape Town over there. I brought South Africa here because you don't come there anymore. I don't know why, but so basically this is just to show you.
I can tell you there's a good reason, called COVID.
Yeah. No, that's all gone. That's all gone. So we've got Stellenbosch over there, and then they basically pushed all the French into this corner called Franschhoek. It was Banghoek back then. So basically they pushed them into there, and that's where the first Semios were planted in the country. So for me, the first fruit that came into the country in the 1600s from Holland was basically, there was Semio in there. There was also a bit of Muscat and Palomino, of course. But the second ones that came in and the third ones were all had Semio in them. And then in the late 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, close to 94% of South Africa was actually Semio. Yeah. White and red, it was Semio.
So it was more fashionable. It was the variety which established. I mean, obviously you're talking about South Africa has having a history of 350 years with certain waves, and basically we're talking now about the first wave wines, basically like Chenin Blanc and Semillon.
For sure. Yeah. So the Semillon, for me, obviously, when I worked with Vineyards, it was the first grapes that came in white and red on the same truck, and I couldn't understand it because of my ignorance. I've never seen Semillon Gris in my life. When I started working with it, I just saw this is completely unique. I mean, you can just see that it's the salinity in this wine is for me what really makes it. It's not about fruit. Don't think of fruit. Think of just this more blossom and salinity and that kind of flint that we get. So we work a lot more on the lees. We've got amazing sunlight in South Africa, obviously, so we don't need richness from batonage or anything like that. So what we do is that we actually chill it just after fermentation to not go through mallow, to just hang on to that bit of malic acid there.
Freshness.
So it's really a wine. Obviously, this is going to be 20 years from now, it's even going to be more special. That's what Semillon is about. But I make it, all the wines that we do, red and white, we do it that it's actually something that you can open up now. It's people. Yes, behind you, you've got obviously there's quite amazing wines here. That's inspiration for all of us. But people don't store enough wines. They drink it. So we make it in a way that people can appreciate from day one.
Yeah, but still, this can keep too.
Yeah, for sure. With a pH like 3.2, you can keep it for many years.
Yeah. Well, one thing about this variety is because many people think of South Africa still in Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, and I think you were referring to, let's say, the generation of Adi Badenhurst, Ibn Sadi, Malinu, that they were looking at different varieties, or let's say, not varieties probably which also had a long history, but they were never really proud of, or they were almost like kept under the carpet or something, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it's also, Semillon, people don't ever know what Semillon is, but we don't make it in a Bordeaux Blanc style. I mean, you can see we don't even have it in a claret bottle. This is to really get people's focus back onto Semillon, old wine Semillon. This was planted in 1942, was planted in 1962, so it's a 50-50 blend of those two vineyards, 60 years and 80 years old. And to try and capture that and showcase what Semillon, the grape itself, is doing from Franschhoek. So obviously there's one or two other vineyards as well that is also close to 90, or from 1902, 1906 out there. This is planted in 1904.
It's what you were saying. It's super saline or mineral, and does have a good grip, a lot of freshness. It's not overly acidic. Let's say like Riesling can be, like Chenin Blanc. Exactly. It's more creamy texture. It's almost like a little bit like a Chardonnay texture, I find. And it's not super rich in flavor. It's not like a very aromatic wine. Well, it does have a lot of flavor, but it's not very aromatic, and it's almost like an almond flavor I find in there. There's a nuttiness in it. Would you?
So it's definitely
a good description of the wine.
Very much, and then obviously you get that kind of ginger that's also coming through. I did in a few years work with some stem keeping it on the skins as well. That's just kind of lifting that ginger here. For me, it's extremely important to have phenolic grip on the palate for all whites. This Chenin as well. It's wines that just get it's salivating. You want to go back and back and back.
Cutting your tongue, almost like. But that's what I like about this wine. It's no nonsense. It's super pure. It's very direct. It's fresh. It's mineral, and it's nice that basically you can get acquainted with a variety which probably a lot of people don't have on the radar. But it's worth it, and that's because of the potential.
For sure, and you'll see we're going to talk about it, but it's all regional wines. So I always work with more than one block. So that's so the one block gives us depth. The one gives out that minerality, and we want to kind of marry that. So depending on if it's a warm year, we will use one that's less lean or less, that's more dense. And in years where it's actually a cooler year, we want more of that density. So it's always to try and get to a more balanced one, and that's across our range.
I always have to dip my nose into the glass here. It's because there's always something coming out, and obviously we served it a little cooler, but when it warms up, so obviously this is for decanting or caraffing. Well, caraffing, not decanting, but just to give some oxygen. You might want to use those glasses, but you probably can go even a size wider. Exactly. And it's perfect with food. Well, South Africa does have a mixed bag of food.
Yeah, so it's this with something like shellfish, scallops. It's all about something that saltiness that will just kind of lift the minerality of the wine. But it's think of everything about Semillon that you know from South Africa, just kind of throw it out the door. It doesn't have that pyrazine.
Forget your past. Look into the future. Oh,
exactly.
Here comes the Highland. No, but I do understand. This is like you're basically taking it to a next level. Obviously, you have your own idea of what's going to be Damascene. You were mentioning one important thing. It's about the regionality of the wines, which for you, and then about the blending. So with different vineyards, and you work with old wines, but you also work with younger vineyards.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this and our Chenin is all older vineyards. But I do think with something like Syrah, I've seen it all over the world. You can go to Rhone, you can go to anywhere in the world. You can get fantastic wines actually done from slightly younger vineyards. It just starts performing well. So if you look at South Africa, you basically have this belt that's around the coast. It will always be a lot more spicy, the Syrah that we get from there. The Syrah that we've got here is here from the Polka Dry.
Where's Cape Town?
Cape Town is here. That's basically the Cape Peninsula.
Yeah.
And over here, 7 kilometers away from the ocean, this is Falspo, where we get all our predominant wind coming in. So that constant cooling effect that we get from the coast gives you that spice that you get. But what is very intriguing with that site, from the Polka Dry hills, you always get amazing perfume. It's just violets like you.
So where the Polka Dry Hills? This is the region of Stellenbosch here, I guess.
Yes,
no?
yes, yeah. And so it's the first hills that
and you're basically very close to proximity to the ocean. Yeah. And you have the Benguela current. That means like cold water and constant wind.
Yeah.
And you have
the wind is the main thing. All of this is on the coast, obviously, but the main winds that we get here, you need to fix your roof to your house quite securely, otherwise you lose it.
We'll have the Atlantic here, and we have the Indian Ocean a little further here. No?
And that's Cape Agulhas, that's the most southern tip, and that's where the split is.
Okay.
Not
nice
here where
not
where all the tourists go.
Did you make this or?
Yes, it's an idea that I came up.
You have some spare time.
No, I've had help with a guy from Bulgaria that does educational prints.
Very cool.
So,
Nice.
I just think if people see and people feel, then they remember. So now, and then they just need to touch.
Okay, guys, Cape Town here, somewhere here. This is probably the Walker Bay here.
Yes.
Hermanus, yeah, am I right?
Yep.
Okay, Kap Region.
Yes, and this is where our winery is in Elgin over here, in this bowl.
Overberg.
Yes.
Which means over the
mountain.
Over the mountain, no? Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
So the Syrah that you've got there, so the first year...
South African,
the first wine that really showed me that Stellenbosch can be done in a different way was in '97 that Buchenwald's Kloof did. That very vineyard lasted 1 year and they pulled it out, and now today it's a parking lot. So sadly we won't see that again, but I worked with 15 different blocks in year one because I just knew in that area we're going to get something that's just a completely different style.
Driver? Are you a good
very good driver, or very persistent driver, because I do about 40,000.
That means a lot of driving, I guess, when you work with so many different vineyards and guys and people.
Yeah.
Are you good at
But a lot of personalities, and that's the part that gets you to go back.
So are you good at multitasking?
No.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm but I think a lot while I drive, and then when I get back, then I'm multitasking.
Okay.
So no, it's really about. You need to be out there. You need to have the loyalty from the guys, so that when you drive away from the farm, that the people, that you don't have to look over your shoulder and pretty much see if the people actually did what you explained to them. So it's really about relationships. It's about open doors. I mean, the fruit that you've got here, there's amazing people that led me to blocks like these. So it's people like Artie. Also, we do Swartland.
It seems like you're a big family in South Africa. Everybody knows, and I have something here and something there. Always something mingling here.
For sure. No, there's a massive camaraderie, and it's amazing if you do events together as well. Yeah.
The brotherhood of vineyards.
It's how people also send people across to your table when you go.
We shall not forget the sisterhood.
No.
Sorry for interrupting, but wow, you're putting so much information up here. I need to basically also I need my questions.
We're not going to tell all the truth, so.
No, but coming to this wine, this is a very perfumed, fine, like I find a lot of rose petal, floral things in this, red fruit. It's not like these dark, heavy Shiraz or Syrahs.
Typical from Stellenbosch.
Okay.
Yeah. So typically from Stellenbosch, it will always have slightly more wood. It would be much deeper, denser. And for me, I wanted to do something that's completely the opposite of that. So
that's meat, kind of meatiness.
Yeah, so there's a savoriness. So the one vineyard is right on top of a mountain where the wind is constantly going over. It's facing slightly north. It's actually looking towards the Swartland. But that one gives you, it feels like you're walking into a charcuterie, like a butchery.
Exactly, but a good one.
Yeah.
A good one. Big debate in Germany about where does the meat come from. But I was trained as a chef. And I had to do in the 80s, and I think the meat industry was different at that time. Anyway, so we were grinding a lot of meat, mincing meat, and that smell would come out when you mince meat. Olive, you get a little bit of olive.
And that will just become more and more. So obviously, depending on when you want it, if you want that perfume, if you want something that's really just jumping out at you, then open it up earlier. You can see the tannins here is just extremely elegant. The different way that we actually do it in the cellar with whole berry fermentations. But this is 75% stems that we use here, and you can see that white pepper that you have, that will just get more and more and more. So depending on when you want to drink that, it's just how long you keep it.
I can drink it from the bottle.
Here we go, with a straw.
Not with a straw, not from the bottle. No, but what is nice about it, it's like when you sniff it, you obviously get kind of ambitions to drink more and more. This is like a wine for me, like a second glass or second bottle. Depends on how you. For sure. Depends on who's next to you. Sitting next to you.
It pulls you in, and that's also why with our brand you can basically see everything is all the same label. So it's amazing with the simplicity of the label, how it stands out on a shelf. But it's a way for people to, it's basically a window so that they have the one wine and it's inviting. So then they kind of think like, what is the other one that they're going to do? What's the other one? And that's how we pull people into the brand, because there's a very, very consistent hand of that elegance that's running through all the wines.
Hey guys, it's fresh, it has grip, it has length. And what I like about it, it's the oak job is done nicely. It's not masked. It's not. It doesn't taste like a chocolate bar or an espresso or something, or it doesn't smell like it. You basically get the varietal theme super, and you get a coolness in that wine, a coolness factor in this.
So it's very important what you're mentioning. So the entire cellar is kitted with concrete ferments or tanks, so that we can do the ferments in there. But all the oak that we use for this is foudre. So we don't touch any smaller barrels.
Big foudre, so big casks. Okay.
So it's just a slow micro ox that you get, but it's not to get the influence actually from the oak and get the. There's enough spice there. We don't need it from the oak itself. And the grip, like I explained, that's coming more from the stems. And this is extremely poor granitic soils that it's grown on.
Shall we go to wine number 3? Yeah. It's very interesting when you think of Syrah. It has a lot in common with the wines from the Northern Rhone. Yes. Some of the flavors, but I would say the brightness and the freshness factor in this wine seems like. I just went to the Northern Rhone not too long ago, just a couple of days ago, and it seems to be like you're living in a, let's say, more moderate or maritime influenced climate. I mean, you can almost feel like sometimes the Rhone wines are more powerful. Yes. And more, there's a different depth. This wine has a lifted, fresh and bright approach. Yes. Would you say this is like?
So it's completely true. We go every year to Côte to basically.
Thank you. Thank you, teacher. No, but
we go to Rhone every year to go and get inspiration from there, because it's certainly the style that we can relate to, but it needs to show where it's actually coming from. So it needs to show that maritime influence.
Yeah, well, you want to do your own thing. I mean, you have a different soil. You have well, you have the oldest soils for winemaking.
Oldest soils and the most diverse in the world. Yeah. So that's the most important bit. So that's why we go to all these different places, like even up here to the Cederberg Ward, another Syrah that you'll try at a later stage. But that's 1,000 meters above sea level, and that's what we want to show with that one is actually elevation. But the next one that you've got in your glass, it's about.
What is about this talk? Sorry that I'm this Cabernet Franc, but you have these beautiful corks. Is there a story to it?
Because they all look the same. It's really it's just repetitive, that whole thing of coming out of the dark and seeing the light. So it's basically if each of these are actually put in by hand. Because we have the dark part at the bottom, so you can actually see the cork at the bottom. You can see the writing.
It's me getting up after a real strong evening with some friends, you know. So basically, this part will, and then the rest. Yeah.
So if you get a cork that's the other way around, you get a free bottle. We will sort you out. Quality control. But no, it's really just to keep on subliminally just like fixing it in people's minds that it's just like seeing the light. So for me. This is a wine that's for me that I worked. So back at Blockbuster-Weinen, we had a wine called the Journeyman, and there was a component going into the Cabernet Franc that always for me was just completely different to any Cabernet Franc that we have in the country, where usually it's more bell peppers, it's green, it's just you don't want to touch it. From this block, that's from the Bottler Hill, so it's basically these hills
another
here.
Stellenbosch wine, okay?
Yes.
Bottler Hills would be the next ward.
From
Stellenbosch.
From Polka Dry, but it's basically as the crow flies, it's about 3 kilometers.
Okay.
But all the vineyards there are actually facing north, which is our warmest slope. But this is going into a valley within that range, so it's eastern facing slope. So it's a much longer hanging time that we have for the grapes. So you'll see the tannin here. That's what I want you to focus on. Is the tannin here is extremely gravelly, and that's because of the slope that we have on. And also we don't go into any smaller barrels here, just so that we can see that people can see that it's coming from the grape tannin and not from any oak. But the style on the nose is that typical fennel. It's amazing when you start fermenting this in the cellar, the entire cellar is just fennel. It even the Syrah goes to sleep. You can't pick up the notes there. This is just so fennel-like. But then also that kind of bouquet garni. And then on the palate, there's that almost surprise of fruit that falls up that structure. So it's just a very unique. I mean, you can see that's 13.5 alcohol. All our alcohols are basically 13.5. Very moderate. And that's just to really.
You're not into 15 and a half.
No. I eat. I eat meat. I don't eat wine. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's alcohol. Obviously, is like fat, so it delivers a lot of flavor, but it's diluting at the same time.
Yeah,
no, for diluting
sure.
The
just
flavors.
the extraction from oak and everything is just enhanced with higher alcohols. And for me, I think then you missed the point. I mean, our second biggest market is Japan. If you just look at the delicacy of those kind of foods, that's what you want to.
I thought it's Germany.
No, it's about to be. It's about to be.
Hey, I'm telling you, small allocation. I mean, if you want to talk about allocation, I think all of your wines sell in a day.
So back home, it was at lunchtime. It was all gone. So
that's nice. That's a nice feeling. Like you wake up in the morning, think of, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? At lunchtime, they tell you, we have no wine anymore.
It was a nice idea, but the practicality behind it is quite more challenging. But it's amazing position to be in. And then you can just plan ahead. But the thing is, it's always just, so the entire cellar we fill with fruit, and that's to be able to, so we've got long-term contracts. Everything is between 10 and 25 years of contracts that we have for all these different vineyards. So that you can actually get that consistency and quality and style every single year. But it's also just to keep on pushing that bar to really experiment within certain blocks and to try to get to something unique. And that's, for instance, what you have in your house.
Obviously, we are your importers, and of course we have to like you, but I'm still very amazed about this wine, as Cabernet Franc is a variety which I think is by far overlooked, and as a food-friendly variety. And you mentioned the fennel, but I find also like a tomato stem in this, and I find a red pepper, not the green pepper, which I find in
Southern Texan food that's barbecued like on the grill.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is a wine which is like so nice, as it's more a serving wine than it's a dominating wine. So this is not like a wine which is like, hey guys, I brought something new here, 105 points or something. No, this is something which is really a wine to party, to have a good time at the table, and still to appreciate. I mean, it's really about the delicacy.
So people always say to me, don't make Cabernet Franc, don't make Semillon. It's going to be always the last wine that's going to sell out. It's every single year, it's the first wines that's sold out. It's amazing what Soms do with this.
What do they do with it?
That just pair. It's got it's just so diverse in what you can actually pair it up with.
In the restaurant, you mean? Ah, okay, good.
So,
as a pairing.
Something like with duck, with that fat that you can have that can fill up that palate, but also something like saucy saw that just kind of brings out that fennel. So that and the semillon, it's just something that you can just do so much more with within in the culinary business. So, but also wine bars, it's interesting cultivars. It's something that people want to talk about, and that's why I also do it's a single region wine, so people can understand this is what Stellenbosch is about. Really make it clear, the message, and also not have it intimidating for the people actually serving it, so that people can actually they know what Stellenbosch is. It's not a hard concept to understand, but just do it in a different way.
So that means that people should come out of their personal box or comfort zone,
exactly,
and go towards these varieties, as this is probably what the winemakers would drink. Why? This is always, it's interesting, like, I mean, we've created some monsters in the wine business, or let's say not we, but let's say the winemakers created some monsters.
Be careful what you wish for, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm talking about this, let's say now we have all these cultivars like Chardonnay and Cabernet, which is obviously, these are fantastic varieties, but basically it doesn't leave any space for the very interesting wines. So that always means like we be in a niche here, but it seems like when I look at your, let's say, words and how you describe the wines, I can see the glow in your eyes when you talk about these wines.
Well, it's wines that you actually want to finish the bottle. That's what is important. Like, get a friend, go into a room, lock the door, and finish the bottle, because that's just like there's more and more.
Don't come out. We have a second one.
Yeah. No, it's really like that's the one. It's not something that's. These wines, open it up. What I do is I usually open up 3 bottles and drink them over 2 to 3 days, because then you'll actually see the greatness of it, because there's just another layer. It doesn't fall flat after day 2, and I think that's the signature of great wines, is that it doesn't fall flat after day 2 and day 3. It
reminds me of a great meal, like where they tell you at the beginning, oh, you have 20 courses, and you think like, oh my God, that's going to be late. But then in the end, after they've served you the 20th course, you think like, maybe I could have another 10 courses. And you know, there's like this dynamic, like we don't want things to come to an end. We want to keep
for sure
going and feel positive energy in these wines.
Correct.
So do you filter?
We do filter. So for me, I think
maybe technical, but
no. I do think it's relevant. I mean, these days you can't sit in a restaurant in New York and pretty much get something that's starting to ferment in your glass, or something that's got sediment from a young wine. I think it's something that we need to be responsible for, putting stuff out in the world that's clean. We obviously, what we do is we call it like a fly catcher, so it's an extremely loose filter that we do. But I think it's just sometimes it actually cleans up the wines a little bit and showcases area even more. So for me, it's definitely the all filtered.
Last question, just to understand this right. South Africa, well, the Cape region, not South Africa, but the Cape region, basically, to understand it right, you have the proximity to the ocean, you have the diversity in the soils, and you have the altitude.
Yes.
And that basically is part of, or let's say, a main part of your idea, how to work. And you get different flavors, obviously, from here, because you have probably different temperature at night, day and night.
17 difference between day and night.
This is like Cederberg here, no? Okay.
Between and that's compared to the 12 that you've got over there. But it's not only that. So obviously soul we spoke about, but it's the personalities. It's those stories of the people that actually work the land that you want to take back home. So it's the farmers, it's the people that work in the vineyards as well. So that's the thing. I think the beauty of South Africa is that diversity. There's just so much. But every year we work with more and more blocks within those ranges to just see if there's not maybe something else, because there's always got to be something else that we can push to. So, but yeah, it's a clear message, and it's just about exploring. So try the different wines, and we've got 8 in the range. So try all of them, and I hope that you can see that golden thread that I was talking about.
So it means like you're not only a good winemaker or a great winemaker, you're also a good businessman.
No.
Thanks for stopping by, mate. It was great to have you here, and I heard rumors that South Africa is still yet to come. Hey guys, it is there. This is my message. these young guys are now the next level, or the next, let's say, the next generation. And I think what you've achieved, what you've taught the world, the wine world, that you can produce super fine, elegant wines. And lots of things have happened. Also, the big guys have changed a little bit towards your style. So South Africa, to me, is a little bit a connection of Europe with the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
And
just keep on exploring. That's the key
and keep on drinking. Thank you, John.
Great.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Wir sehen uns. Tschüss. Danke. Yes. Well done.
That's a wrap.